we've got a really good idea what happens now. We've seen it. Last year was a trial run, and though we had water coming down and up, we understand what happens. So it is a very dangerous situation. It is going to get progressively worse. There is no question about that. Now is the time. If you are not safe in your home, this is your opportunity. Get out, go to a shelter. Don't wait till the last minute.
Hurricane Matthew is headed our way. People here in the low country, you are running out of time as the winds and waves, the storm surge is getting stronger.
Don't wait, you are running out of time. We are hearing that tonight from first responders and officials tonight about this dire situation as we prepare for Hurricane Matthew's trek across the southeast coast. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Carolyn Murray.
It's good to have you here. I'm Brendan Clark. We are continuing coverage. We have you covered on Hurricane Matthew. We got on the air just after 3 o'clock today, and we will be here throughout the duration of the storm, covering you, covering the stories that you need to know and giving you the vital information that you need to know for the storm. And
we are, of course, going to check in with the Low Country Chief Meteorologist, Rob Fowler. Rob, give us an idea of how this storm is shaping up. This is kind of what you expected. I mean, strong wind gusts, pelting rain, and it's only 9 o'clock.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. I'm just looking at some of the information. This came from Spencer Pryor, the PIO, Public Information Officer for North Charleston. And rising water, potential flooding in the following areas. Want to read it to make sure I get it right. Dorchester at Meeting, McMillan at Spruill, Remount at Yeamans Hall, Remount at Dakota, Jacksonville Road at Carner Avenue, Dorchester at Rivers Avenue, and a tree down is at the 1000 block of Buste Avenue, partially blocking lane. And Spencer Pryor just sent this just a little while ago. So again, that's something we'll continue to keep an eye on. We'll keep you updated as we get the updates in. But that's just an indication of what we've talked about all night long, really all afternoon long, and that is the fact that things are going to go downhill pretty quickly and already are.
You know, if you haven't evacuated already, if you haven't gone to a shelter, then it's best to stay at home and hunker down and ride this thing out because the weather outside is getting a little treacherous. Don't want anyone on the roadways anymore. It's just not safe to do that.
That's right, and we have seen some dramatic pictures coming out of downtown Charleston. News 2's Rebecca Collette is down there all afternoon. We have seen such a change in the weather. Rebecca, show us where you are on the historic Battery, and it looks as if the water is already coming over the wall.
It is, Carolyn. We're right on the Battery, right at East Battery and Murray. So what you think about where the big park and the cannons are, that's where we're standing. And this is the seawall here. And yes, we are seeing water come up over the seawall. The big change from what was here, you know, 1 o'clock I was down here. It wasn't raining. It was just a little overcast. I mean, we're getting beat up, pelted by this rainwater. It's coming in horizontally at this point. I've got on 3 layers of clothes, and I can tell you, it actually hurts when it hits. That's how fast it's coming in and how hard it's hitting us. We've been seeing the fire department, we've been seeing the police ride through and check, but at some point, they're not going to be able to do that. So it's time for you to obviously be hunkered down and be prepared because it's getting worse and worse. It's deteriorating here. The city has also turned its focus to responding after this mess passes us. They say they've got crews ready to respond to whatever comes our way.
They will be immediately available to respond after the storm passes. This will provide us with teams that will be able to do most things necessary from law enforcement, security, fire, and medical assistance to clearing roadways that are blocked by trees or down power lines.
As for that midnight curfew, the reason that that's really important is we're already seeing flooding in this area. You just saw the water come up. This is serious. But the curfew is because with the tide expected between 12 and 1 and all of this rainwater and an unusually high tide, you're looking at substantial flooding in this area. So that curfew is in a place to keep you safe. And the city says do not leave your home. If you have decided to stay, stay indoors. Live on the Battery, I'm Rebecca Collette for News 2.
A little closer to home, we have meteorologist Christine Kohler. She is in Mount Pleasant at the News 2 studios. She is also outside. And Chrissy, you've seen the rainfall get worse, haven't you, in the last few hours?
Yeah, absolutely, and it comes still in bursts at this point in time, but just on cue, Ma Nature picked up the rain and picked up the wind here right before you sent it out to us here on the balcony, so it's still not quite to that sustained level. We are still kind of seeing it come in bursts at this point in time, and what I've been also really paying attention to here, specifically in Mount Pleasant, with where the station is located at, we're very close to marshland, so we're going to start to see some of that inundation maybe before some other folks might, although there are definitely folks who will see it before we do. But what I've been kind of watching is what's happening down here in the parking lot and in this big pond. If you've driven by Channel 2, you know that pond that's out in front of our area. And so I've been watching to see what the water is doing. At this point in time, the ground is very saturated. We're starting to see ponding over parts where the grass is, even over parts of the pavement, starting to see ponding there as well. And then when the wind picks up, it whips the water all around. But the good news is at this point in time, I'm not seeing much in the way of the inundation coming up from the marshlands. However, we do expect that to change. The forecast for surge inundation, for a water inundation, especially along the coastal areas, is 6 feet to 9 feet as we head through this event. And that can put a lot of places underwater, including some of the barrier islands. That's a big concern for us, is the potential for inundation around those barrier islands. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on that as we head through the rest of the night. As Rob just said a little bit earlier, we are still in the very beginning stages of this, and it's only going to continue to progress as we head through the overnight hours.
Look at that. Look at that, Brendan.
That's a power line right there. And so people, you know, who are texting me and calling me and wondering through everyone else, hey, I'm going to come back right now. It's okay. The storm's gone, right? Well, that's what you're seeing in the aftermath, people. You're seeing trees over roads. You're seeing power lines hanging low that may be live, they may be not, but it certainly could be life-threatening, a dangerous situation there. So just hold off if you can. You will get back. We promise you. We know you want to get back and check out your house and check out your property and check out the area.
I don't know anything about electricity other than it does not play. So I don't want to be anywhere near a live power line, and I don't want you to be anywhere near it either. We talk about trees that fell in the opposite direction. Look at that. If that tree had fallen the other direction, this would be quite a different story. Meanwhile, we're going to go back outside to our own Brendan Clark. Brendan is very close to where we are, right in our front yard, in fact, but still able to give us a really significant perspective of how this storm has impacted everyone, every business, every industry. And Brendan, we say that because our front yard is flooded.
Yeah, you didn't have to go find the story because you can see the story is right here, as it is everywhere. The pictures we've seen, Carolyn, coming in from Edisto Island, the destruction there, the erosion that we've seen on the Isle of Palms, just sand and a 6-foot drop before you see sand again. The erosion that we've seen out there, the destruction we've seen up in Georgetown, the McClellanville area, the trees down in Hanahan and Somerville, and then right here in Mount Pleasant. We knew the storm was kind of headed our way, and boy, it hit. It hit with fury. The winds picked up starting last night when we were on air, and they just kept on going, kept on increasing. And the Channel 2 property took a nice little beating here, and it kind of encapsulate everything we've been talking about in other areas as our photog kind of takes a look around. You have the officials blocking off roads. Right there, the police in Mount Pleasant are blocking off the Ravenel Bridge. The Ravenel Bridge is closed. That's what we've been telling you for the last couple of hours. Can't go across it. Inspectors want to take a look at it, see if there's any structural damage because of Hurricane Matthew. Some pictures we saw last night from the DOT cameras, that wind, that rain was just giving a beating to the Ravenel Bridge. They got it blocked off. You can't go anywhere. And I don't know if you can see it, but there is a huge tree that was downed right by those police. It has been cut up and cleared. The water, that's a whole different story here. We know that when it rains, it floods in the low country, but this has certainly been a spectacular event. You can see this parking lot. It used to be a parking lot here at Channel 2. Yeah, we got a pond here, but that pond has been extended. The water started coming up about 7 o'clock last night by our first report, and it just didn't stop. Of course, with that storm surge, the water had nowhere to go. It just went up and it came towards us. Hasn't started to recede yet. You kind of have a line of debris, and that's how you can mark a little bit when the water starts to recede, because it brings all that debris up and kind of leaves it there. So you'd have that line of debris that would just be there, and the water would be going back and back and back. Hasn't done that yet. The water is staying up here. It's right up to our doorstep, almost literally. And as you go further out, it goes from inches to feet.
When it started to rain, kind of never stopped. This time, it was higher than ever before. and the highest since Hurricane Hugo. We've seen reports as high as 10 to 15 inches across the low country.
They still could have power lines underneath them. They could have actually broken sections of road underneath them. They could have trees that have come down underneath them. You don't know what you're going over.
Please stay in your home.
We can't take it no more, so we left because we knew that this was going to happen.